Evaluating composite functions using graphs. When we are given individual functions as graphs, the procedure for evaluating composite functions is similar to the process we use for evaluating tables. We read the input and output values, but this time from the x and y axis of the graphs. Given a composite function and graphs of its individual functions, evaluate it using the information provided by the graphs. 1, you're going to locate the given input to the inner function on the x-axis of its graph. Number 2, you're going to read off the output of the inner function from the y-axis of its graph. Number 3, locate the inner function output on the x-axis of the graph for the outer function. And number 4, you're going to read the output of the outer function from the y-axis of its graph. This is the output of the composite function. So for example number 6, we're going to use a graph to evaluate a composite function. So we're going to use figure 1 to evaluate f g of 1. So we're going to let g of x be this graph, and we can see that f of x is going to represent this graph. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to first evaluate g of 1. Okay, so in order for us to evaluate g of 1, what we need to do is figure out, okay, on the x-axis, where is x starting at 1? So that means that this is g of 1. Okay, now if we go up to the graph, okay, this gives us an ordered pair of 1 and then 3. So if 1 represents the input, then the output on G is going to be 3. So we can see that G of 1 is going to give us an output of 3. So G of 1 gives us an output of 3. Now we need to use the input of 3 on F. So what we're going to do now is now go to this graph and now we're going to use the input of 3 to determine what is the output going to be on our graph. Well, that is going to give you 6 because on F, this is the ordered pair where the input is 3 and the output is 6. So we can see that f of 3 now becomes the value of 6. So again, we evaluate g of 1 using the graph of g of x, finding the input of 1 on the x-axis and finding the output value of the graph at that input. And again, we got g of 1 is equal to 3. And then we're going to use this value as the input to the function f. We can then evaluate the composite function by looking to the graph of f of x, finding the input 3 on the x-axis, and reading the output value of the graph at this input. Therefore, we got f of 3, which is equal to 6. So f of g of 1 is going to equal 6. And again, you can see here that the graph that I showed up above traces the path. We go to 1 and then 3 and then from 3 to 6.